This might be a hot take. I think Diablo 4 would have been better without even the Uber uniques in them. Because the fact that they're in there and I get to look at this item that I want, and I know, it's not that like maybe I just need to play a lot. It's I know I will never play with this item. Like it actually actively makes me feel worse. All right, well, welcome welcome to the chill stream from morning stream here with my boy Rax. We're going to talk a little bit about ARPGs, and I kind of, the reason I wanted to hit you up too is I wanted to get your take on Last Epoch. So I've seen you've been playing that.
I have played through one full campaign clear, and I have played 2 hours of the end game, and I have only found 2 problems with the game. And that is not common. Like you play some other games that we won't mention, and you go through the game and you find a lot more than 2 problems.
Yeah, that will happen. Especially 2 hours of the end game. You might have completed the end game in 2 hours. You know what I mean? So.
Yes, and this is absolutely impossible in Last Epoch. It's been fun, man. It's been fun to discover how great of a game it really is. It has surprised me, even though I've heard all these like super positive things about it. It still has surprised me.
Okay, so December is the official release, and it's in. Are they going to wipe the servers? Is it that type of thing where they wipe everyone's character and they're starting fresh? I don't know how it works. I played a little bit of it. I played like 2 hours. All right, I haven't played enough of it to like get a solid foundation. So I don't know if there's an economy, if it's player-driven economy type of situation. They need to wipe it, or how's that going to work?
Have you ever? Let me ask you a question. Have you ever played WoW?
Oh yeah, I played a lot of WoW. I'm playing hardcore classic WoW right now, as a matter of fact.
What class are you playing?
Druid Night Elf, because I hate myself and it's classic.
That's probably the class I have the least experience on. Are you blasting? Are you having fun?
Yeah, I mean it's fun, but I'm not good at classic. Like Burning Crusade was kind of more of my time, and then Lich King was like, oh my god, I love it. But those were the 2 expansions I really liked. Then Kata's fallen off for me a bit, and by the time the Pandas hit, I was pretty much out of there.
Yeah. It's similar. Dang, we should have started together. We could have went like I can play anything, but we should have started together. I could have went warrior druid. We could have just shit on everything. It would have been fun. So are you familiar with a very famous add-on? One of maybe the most famous add-on called TSM Trade Skill Master?
Nope, not familiar at all.
Okay, so this add-on, you download it and you just won the auction house. It like completely ruins the economy. You buy everything cheap and you just win instantly.
Okay.
The guy who designed that is a dev for Last Epoch. So
really?
they're about to release their economy, and he is like the TSM guy. So,
really?
I think it's coming. I think it's coming on launch. There might be people in chat that know more about it than I do, but yes, there will be an entire economy, and the way that the crafting system works, and I'm just such a baby about it. Like I just don't know how it works, but
sure.
People in chat have been helping me along the way. You get so many. You get just the right amount of what are they called? Runes or shards, to manipulate your gear as you level up to where you would use it, but not so many that it's like trivial. It makes the game really fun. You're constantly manipulating your gear for the better, and it just feels really good, man. I don't know. Like,
do you like crafting in these ARPGs? Because I mean, D3 had some decent crafting. D4 doesn't really have. I mean, we have enchanting, so it's like, do you like crafting in these types of games? I'm starting to learn it because of Path of Exile. I play a low D3. I didn't really play D2, so I don't think I had crafting, but I could be wrong. It could or something. But in Path of Exile, I'm loving the crafting. I didn't play enough Last Epoch to know. So what's your feeling about crafting in ARPGs?
I guess my feeling on it is I like crafting when it works. I like crafting when it feels good. I like crafting when it feels rewarding and when it's available to me and it benefits me. PoE has, I mean, PoE is like an ocean compared to Diablo being a bathtub. There's just so many things that you can do. Like you pull up a Maxwell guide on how to properly craft your endgame bow, and it's like 17 steps. Okay, find this really good bow, and then do these 17 steps in order. You do one step out of order and you brick the whole thing. It's like,
yep.
Oof, okay. That's good for like a blaster or someone that has a PhD in PoE, but that's not necessarily readily available to the common folk. Last Epoch has got something in the middle. Like I really don't consider Diablo things a crafting thing. You put runes in the right order. You have a rune word. You re-roll a couple of things and craft something at the blacksmith with bounty mats. That's not really a thing. Diablo 4 doesn't have crafting at all. But Last Epoch has crafting. You can learn the basics of it very quickly, and it feels rewarding like instantly. It's right away, and a lot of feel-good moments really early on in Last Epoch. I think that's what new users are going to that's what new users are going to experience. It's so many wins early on that it motivates you to keep playing.
I only played, I think, like maybe 3 hours total, and it felt like I needed a loot filter like instantly. The amount of loot that started showing up was crazy. The drops are like Path of Exile. You just get them like all of the time. I'm playing Ruthless right now in Path of Exile, so it's like I'm not getting any drops. But on the normal version, it seems like in Path of Exile, there's a ton of drops. And Last Epoch seemed like it was even more, even earlier. It's just kind of crazy. I don't know if you felt that same way or not.
I felt exactly that way. I said that exact same comment, and I had a loot filter going. The first thing that I did was 2 maps in, I said exactly that. Made a basic loot filter that filtered out every common and every magic item. They're just gone. Then I was only picking up the yellows, and then I was still going through levels, and halfway through the level, you port back to town to sell your items. There was a developer for Last Epoch in my chat. He was watching me, and he goes, Rax, I got to tell you something. If you're ever porting back to town in the middle of a map, you're picking up too many items. And I'm like, really? Well, I added a loot filter and I filtered out the normal and the magic items. I'm only picking up the yellows. I'm still picking up too many items. He goes, yes. So open up your loot filter. I go, okay. And he goes, filter out every item that isn't for a mage, because that's why I was playing. Oh, okay. And he goes, now go to weapon bases and filter out everything that isn't a staff or a wand. Now play the game. And then I found like 2 items every hour. I'm like, this feels great. This is awesome. I'm not picking up any more garbage. And then I was blasting. Then you do like 8 maps in a row before you have to go to town, and they have blacksmiths place like at every major checkpoint. So I actually never ported to town anymore. I was only blasting.
Is trading enough of a thing where you feel like potentially you are missing out on some of the loot? Like, because you're only seeing the mage stuff, right? If you're doing mage. So do you feel like, oh, maybe there was a really good warrior item I could have sold? Or is it just kind of trading's not really a thing? Because I know you're talking about the economy. Like, it's got the guy from the TSM economy add-on. So I'm wondering, like, how robust the economy is, and is it still going to show you those big, really expensive drops if that is such a thing?
So the answer is yes. I think the basic way to say it is, and this is what the internet keeps telling me, I believe that this is true from my 10 hours of playing. They say that without exception, not even close, Last Epoch has the best loot filter of any game. So the way that it works is you have you have a hierarchy of rules, where if I put at the bottom of, so any rule at the top will supersede a rule at the bottom. So for example, I might say, show me every unique, all of them. It does not matter. If I put show all uniques at the top, every unique that drops without exception, no matter what rules come after it, will happen.
Sounds easy to understand then.
It's
from the beginning.
Very easy to understand. When someone asked me to make a loot filter, I created one, and I just started making one. I wasn't reading chat, and I go, all right, I filtered out the whites and the blues like that. It's literally click, hide, rarity, white, blue, enter, done. It's just literally that simple. But there are very, very high levels of it. Like after I created my basic loot filter, chat was screaming at me, okay, Rax, you made your basic loot filter. Here's your pad on your head. Here's your juice box. You need to delete your loot filter and download the one from anywhere. Like I downloaded the one from Maxroll. Download the one from Maxroll. And you open up, it's like 300 lines of code where they did all this crazy stuff. It's like, now you're actually not going to get any garbage anymore. It's like, oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, that was exactly my experience with PoE. I had the first week was basically me trying to find any message in my chat that wasn't download the never sync, like, you know, filter blade or whatever, or people telling me to download Path of Exile, Path of Building, you know, and that was all anyone would say for like the first week. So I had to go and download these programs and learn them in order to be able to have a conversation about anything else. But I'm glad the filter is built into, because there's something about the turnoff for me in these games where I have to go outside of the game to do a thing. Like, I don't really even like add-ons in WoW that much. I mean, I used them because you had to do PvP, but like, it just annoyed me that I would have to like go somewhere else to figure out something for inside of the game. So I never really used many of the filters, etc. But it seems like it's kind of mandatory in some of these. Like Last Epoch, it doesn't sound as mandatory, but Path of Exile feels pretty mandatory, where I have to go look something up or download something, you know, etc. in order for it to continue. So it's kind of dope that they have an actual loot filter in Last Epoch. You said you just got into the in-game, though. Have you had any time to experience what any of the in-game is yet, or where you can explain it in a basic way? Is it maps like PoE, or is it more like dungeons like D4? What's the in-game looking like for Epoch?
Well, the similarity between the other two games is it's a very short burst of maps. They're very short. So I bet you could maybe complete some in under 1 minute. Unlike Diablo 4 and more like Path of Exile, there is definitely like a plan to it. There is definitely a logic to it. In Diablo 4, there is no logic to it whatsoever. You run a Nightmare Dungeon, you get another Nightmare Dungeon key, you plug it. It does not matter what that Nightmare Dungeon is. You are not moving toward anything. Last Epoch, in the very short period of time that I have seen, is very, very different. So, it's kind of hard to explain, but what you start in a central point, and it's kind of like a spider web. You're moving out from the center.
Okay.
Moving out from the center is beneficial because the further away that you get from the center, you get more, let's just call them rewards. And the way that you would choose to move out is it tells you what it's going to gift you as a reward if you complete these certain maps. And you can target farm. You're constantly target farming. And the first thing that my chat was screaming at me is you must learn like the hierarchy of what you're looking for. And completely unlike Diablo 4, and maybe in some cases, unlike Path of Exile, the unique items in Last Epoch have been very carefully tuned to pretty much always be valuable. So if they ever give you a unique item for going a certain way, they said like that's
so you get dopamine when it drops and it goes ding or whatever, and you see the unique, you're like, oh, like you actually get hype every time because you know like the odds are it's probably good.
That's what I'm told. Like I pick up the sword and I'm like, is this thing good? And it's like, it doesn't help me. I'm a mage. It's like, oh yeah, keep that. That thing's really good if you make a minion necro. Yeah. And another thing is Last Epoch, as I heard, has infinite stash space. You can infinitely buy stash tabs with in-game gold.
In-game gold. So it's not like you swipe, but you can buy infinite tabs.
Yep. So I asked my chat, I was like, is your guys' strategy in Last Epoch, you guys literally pick up every unique and you just make an infinite amount of tabs and then you label them like Necro, Warrior, da-da-da-da-da, and you just stash them all. And then that way, when you make a twink, you're literally just blasting. And they go, that's exactly what you do. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I'm used to playing Diablo 3, I find 1,000 legendaries in a stream, and I keep like 4 of them. So, another thing, not to get like, I don't want to get like too complicated here, and I don't even know.
I mean, that's why I wanted to. I want to know because I've been seeing you play the game the last few days, and I tried it for a few hours, but I haven't got far enough. So, by all means, get complicated. That's the point.
All right. So, my chat was enlightening me about how you have to think about items a little bit differently in Last Epoch. And let me see if I can articulate this very well. So let's say I have a staff, and a staff can have 4 stats on it, and I'm playing a fire build. Okay, so I obviously want things like spell damage and cast speed and fire damage. You know, I want all the things that you would normally expect. Okay, so I'm walking through, I'm playing my mage, and I find a staff, and it has like a really, really high fire damage, and everything else on it sucks.
Okay.
So I look at the item, and in every game that I've ever played in my life, you would throw it away. And then my chat says, no, Rax, no, keep that. I'm like, this thing is a piece of shit. Why would I keep this? And the way that they have it work is, well, first of all, the crafting system is so in-depth. Your ability to manipulate an item into what you want it to be is pretty extreme. So you have to think about, you always have to think about what is the potential of this item instead of what do you have put in front of you.
Mm.
But also, even if you're not going to do that, even if you're not going to turn that staff into the staff that you're wearing, if it has super high fire damage, you can actually use the crafting system to kind of trickily destroy it, and then you will get some of that fire damage power to recraft into something else.
So you can almost like extract the essence, you know,
Yes.
and move it over. You get okay.
It's not exactly like that. It's not exactly you take the legendary power and place it on something else. That's like something Diablo does.
Sure.
It's you have a chance to get some of the fragments of that firepower, and then you can, at a certain number of fragments, you could level up the firepower on a godly staff later.
Oh, I see. So it's their way of making more or less most loot matter, because you're like slowly snowballing, getting the fragments to complete the crafting later on. Is that kind of the way I'm getting it?
That's exactly it. So, for example, in your end game loot filter, you would not filter out blues. You would filter out all staff blues, but you want to see the ones that have like T5 or higher fire or spell damage.
So you can actually target like all the way down to the specific attribute line, or because that's crazy amount of specific detail you can do.
I will just repeat to you what I've heard 70,000 times. Last Epoch has the best loot filter in any game. It's just, I mean, it's just crazy. You can, I think you can go down to the smallest detail, whatever you could think of.
So which makes me think of a point in chat here. And by the way, we have one of the, I guess we have one of the last Epoch devs in chat. EHG Steve says what up and says
that's 11-hour gaming. Yep.
Yeah. So, you know, welcome to the channel. Thanks for coming by. Got distracted. What was it? Was there something I was going to say in the chat? Oh, it means, yes, all items must drop identified then, is what people are saying in the chat. Because if you can identify.
No identifying.
I kind of like that, to be honest. I like IDing because it's extra layer of dopamine, but it kind of gets like owed. You know, after you've ID'd like your thousandth item.
You want to know what? They give it to you in a different way, though. When you run through the map, so the map's very quick, right? And remember, you target farm. So let's say, so I'm staring at my little spider web, right? My endgame spider web. And I see, okay, I can get runes or I can get XP. And everyone is screaming the XP is garbage, never take XP. So I go for the runes, easy. So that's an easy choice. You go through the map, okay, I won. Then you are ported into kind of where you're standing right now. Imagine that. And all there is a vendor, your stash, the portal to the next spider web, and there is your reward right there. And there's a giant glowing treasure chest that has nice shit in it too. So every 60 seconds, you're getting that hit. Not only are you getting the items from clearing that thing, which are pretty good, then you get your reward that you target farmed, and you get a big golden chest. So actually, you're getting a hit with these dopamine things constantly. That's how you get
I'm not gonna lie, I need those dopamine spikes in these games. Like if there was no moment where something drops and I'm like, oh shit, like that's great. Like I would never play these games. So it's like I need those gamba, you know what I mean, level of dopamine in each one of them. I guess that's part of the reason probably D4 felt a little bad with the itemization is I don't know if you ever felt the way, but other than like my first Tempest Roar, I never really had a moment. I guess Uber Unique would be a pretty big one, but I don't know about you. I've never gotten an Uber Unique. So there's not really like a lot of dopamine moments, or at least not that I can remember in D4. Killing Uber Lilith, but that's not really a reward-based dopamine. So like Path of Exile is a good one, but if Last Epoch has even more dopamine, then I'm probably going to end up having to try that one out. This dev says there are definitely some amazing chase items and big unique drops that can happen. Have you hit any of these yet?
I'm literally walking around with yellow gear and everyone's laughing at how bad my mage is. I truly just started, but I can assure you it will not be long before we are one-shotting everything, hopefully. I've also heard that the build that I chose, I let chat choose it. This is what happens when I let chat choose things. It said my build is really not super top tier either, so I'll probably re-roll and start all over again and see if we can do better. But I'll tell you something funny. This was before the Diablo 4 alpha, so
Okay.
before the testing phase.
Like the friends and family one?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
this is
the
way back when the
Yeah.
when the dinosaurs roamed the earth.
Yeah.
They, I was chatting with Blizzard, and they asked, what is something that we can do in Diablo 4 that would be like really great if you could only come up with one thing? And I said, if I could only have one thing, I said exactly what you just said. Exactly. I said, in Diablo 2, you did perfect. You had Jaw runes, Bear runes, Shaco, Oculus, Stone of Jordan, Mara's Kaleidoscope. You had these very Arachnid Mesh. These very, very rare items like Mage Blood, Headhunter.
I still have yet to get any of those.
Yeah, well, me neither. I don't have them either. I get happy when I find a Divine Orb. I find a Divine Orb, we're going to Chipotle.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, keep going.
I said you really have to have those in the game, and not only did they make them, 1 in 50 million chance, I can't even find them, but other than really the Shaco in Diablo 4, none of them are really that good. If you find one of these, in my opinion, it should just make you a god, and you should just start shitting on everything, because the number one priority in these games is fun, and that's what's going to make you feel so great. When I don't know if you played this, but back in the day when in the dark days when Wolcen came out, there was a belt called the Trial, and this item was very rare, but it was just 1,000,000 times better than any other item. You get this belt and you just win. It's impossible to lose, one shot everything. It's like, and then the developers went on a chat and they said how bad the Trial is for the game, and I was just like, bro, if you take out the Trial, the 2 people who are playing Wolcen are gonna quit. They nerfed it and then everybody quit. It's like, guys, I don't understand why game developers don't understand that these super godly unique items to log in and chase after are so important.
You need a reason to play the game once you've done everything the game has. Like, I'm pretty firm on the opinion that eventually everyone who's like a gamer is going to run out of content with every game they're playing. Like, I mean, people max in RuneScape, right? Like, eventually you're going to run out of content if it's not a sandbox-based game, and no dev is ever going to make content fast enough that the players cannot, play through the content faster than they're making it. So you have to
outpace it.
Yeah. So you have to have something like that. You have to have some kind of chase that is difficult. But I don't know, man. The Uber Uniques, this might be a hot take. I think Diablo 4 would have been better without even the Uber Uniques in them, because the fact that they're in there and I get to look at this item that I want, and I know it's not that like maybe I just need to play a lot. It's I know I will never play with this item for as long as I play this game, unless these 5 new bosses or whatever come out. Like, it actually actively makes me feel worse. It like actively makes me feel worse just knowing that some guy who played the game for 15 minutes, I mean, I'm exaggerating, but some guy who never even hit level 100 is probably going to have the item way more than anyone who's played the game for like 5,000 hours straight. I don't know. The Uber Uniques for me are one of the biggest things that got changed. As soon as they add those, because I want the shrine one, the one that makes you a random shrine. I think that actually sounds fun. Granted, it probably hits greed 99% of the time, but that would be a fun one. You go around as the shrine ball kind of the whole time. Then our shrine-based druid build might actually do something.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Greed Shrine in the current iteration of Diablo is pretty great, because have you tried re-rolling an item? Have you seen how expensive that is? You re-roll it once, it's 300K. Second roll, 600. Next roll, 1,000,000, and then you're broke. Dude,
it makes re-rolling basically impossible. I don't understand why it has to like double, dude. It's. I mean, you can go broke fast doing that on coin flips. So I don't understand when we're talking, you have like a 10% chance of hitting the enchant you want, and it's like Nightingale like that, where it's double, or Martingale, or whatever it's called. Like you're going to go broke the vast majority of the time trying to enchant those items. That's just kind of how the house always win works, So you go. Is that still a major, with you having played as many hours as you play in Diablo 4, do you still go broke on Go trying to reroll items, or is it just you've got so many items there's nothing left to grind at this point?
I just changed my mentality. I don't go broke, but it's for the wrong reason. I don't go broke because I have just said I get an item, I'm gonna re-roll it 3 times. If I get something even kind of useful that does something for my build, I'm just gonna take it and walk away. Um, because I'm a loser and I was trying to level up all the classes. So, I mean, you have to have that mentality. If you have like any alts, it's like if someone makes one main and complains that they're out of gold, it's like, well, try making all 5. I mean, you literally roll it 1 time and, oh, I get a choice of thorns damage or increased barrier. Well, I don't do thorns damage and I don't have a barrier.
So I want to ask you one last question about your experience with Last Epoch. So in my experience of playing Path of Exile blind, I don't know how blind you are to Last Epoch, but having people in the chat that constantly would like do this, do that was really funny for me. Like the people that would kind of, the backseaters, they'd be like, oh, you got this item's good, save this one like you mentioned with your one. Is in Last Epoch there a big enough community where there's a ton of people just like, do this, do that in your chat? Do you get that quite a bit in your chat as well? Because I mean, Path of Exile was like, thank God for these people. They saved me a lot of mistakes, you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I had somebody message me like literally 2 paragraphs about an item that I found that I threw into my stash. And he wrote me like 2 paragraphs with diagrams and arrows about how you can re-roll this. And look how this, can you imagine how this item could be good when you do this and that and this and that? Look at this. And then you could take this and use this later. The community over there, one nice thing about the Last Epoch community is I feel the level of toxicity is very low. People feel
that's rare for games.
It's pretty rare. Like people feel very happy about the game. People are. I don't know if I've had anybody come into my chat say I played Last Epoch and Last Epoch sucks. I don't think I've heard one person say that. Everyone's usually saying, yeah, I'm blasting too. Oh, I blasted this a month ago. I had a lot of fun. All right, Rax, I'm firing it up. Yeah, let's play. Oh, you need help with crafting? Yeah, do this, do that, do this. No, Rax, you picked the wrong thing. Why did you do that? No, Rax, next time do this. It's like, okay, everyone's blasting over there.
Okay. Well, I mean, that kind of exciting then, because a community can really make or break a game, man. Like, for instance, Path of Exile community I thought was pretty good. Okay, maybe there's some min-max Andes, but for the most part, it was pretty good. I went into Elden Ring, and a lot of the people that's like obviously are new to the stream were like not enjoyable. You know what I mean? They're like, I had a guy tell me I was cheating because I was using the horse on the boss. That was designed to be fought with the horse, by the way. So I was like, what are we talking about? So sometimes it can make or break a game for you, you know what I mean? But that's cool to hear that and the dev says, we are a game made by gamers for gamers. All right. We got gaming going on for Last Epoch. So I might have to try that one out then. I'm going to add that on the list because I only gave it a couple hours and then we went and played Path of Exile. So I need to give that one its fair due. You think I should wait for that official release to come out, or you think there's any reason for me to give this shot early?
Well, I think they're constantly making updates to the game. What I would do if I were you, if you've got like a full schedule, if you're going to try the Diablos and you're going to try Path of Exile, or you're going to try the Diablos and you're going to do Season 2, that's October 17th. That might satiate you for 2 weeks, and we start November. Maybe somewhere around that time before the release, I would at least do one playthrough to get. Well, it depends. I guess it would depend on what experience would you like to deliver your viewers on the launch. If you want to give them the fresh experience, the only way to do that is to not play. But if you want to surgically delete the game and get into the end game and show them that content quickly, I think it would be worth it for you in November, December to do one playthrough before, depending upon what you want to showcase to your viewers.
That's good advice. I think in that case, I'm probably going to wait then. Because what I'm realizing I like is going into games blind. Like I did that with Path of Exile, I did it with Elden Ring. You know, though I'd seen a couple boss fights or something. But for the most part, I've only played these games like maybe a few hours before. And kind of the process of me figuring out and learning the game, I think is kind of what makes my streams enjoyable, because I'm not good. You know, like constantly making mistakes can actually be pretty fun to watch. So okay, I think that gives me a sense of the plan then. I think I'm going to wait for official release and go into it as fairly blind as possible. But D2, you do think I should play D2 though, huh? You think you would recommending that one?
I think you have to play D2. I don't think you have a choice. If you're going to play the ARPG genre, I think you need to dedicate some real time to Diablo 2. I think you've got to make a character, you've got to fight your way through Hell Bale, and then you have to fight the Ubers. Well, your build probably won't be able to kill the Ubers no matter what you make, unless you make like a really good character. You probably won't be able to do the Ubers, but then you need to do like a day of cow runs. You need to do a day of meth runs, Pindle runs. You need a Bale run to at least level 90 and fully understand where these games came from. And you will probably at the end of it, you will say, wow, this has such a strong connection to Path of Exile, but it doesn't have a connection really to Diablo 3 or Diablo 4. Because I think this is where, and then they said it literally in the Path of Exile 2 announcement, like Diablo 2 is the grandfather of these games.
Isn't there some of the people that worked on D2 also now work on Path of Exile? Am I understanding correctly, or one of them or something? I thought some of those guys ended up working on some of these other ARPGs. But it sounds like for me that I'm gonna have to try D2, because as soon as you're saying that, like everyone in chat's like agreeing, like yes, you have to play D2, like you don't have a choice. So, all right, D2 it is. I think I'm going to do the D1 into D2 play, and since it's D1 short, then I'll knock it out of the way and get going with it, and then we're going to try Last Epoch after that. So for you, for this week, on your way out the door here, you want to plug what you got going on? You're doing Last Epoch today?
I'm going to blast Last Epoch, man. I don't think I will ever be a variety streamer. I'm the kind of guy that needs to just blast. I want to be efficient. I want it to be clean. I want to be at the highest level of games until my hand breaks and I'm dying of exhaustion. It's just who I am personality wise. So I'm going to blast Last Epoch. And I don't know when the next PoE league is, but I think in the next PoE league, I'm going to try to become like a different player. I'm going to actually probably blast and see if I can actually really learn the game. Maybe I'll set a goal like I have to farm like at least 1,000 divine orbs or something, and really start to understand that game, because I don't think it's going to directly correlate, but I think understanding PoE 1 is going to help me be less of a dumbass in PoE 2, hopefully. And of course, I'll always be covering Diablo 4. I'll do the world first race. I'll try to kick everyone's ass. We'll see if it happens. Probably not. And I'll kill all the Uber bosses. I'll do all that. So Diablo 4 probably won't be much of a challenge for either of us. So we'll take care of that. No problem.
That sounds good, man. Thanks for coming by and chatting. I appreciate you taking your time out of your day. I know you got your live streams to do, so you can always follow them. I did a shout out there. You can click on the top of the chat. And you can follow our boy Raxxanterax, who will be covering Last Epoch